Hey everybody. Alrighty. And we're up. Welcome to Way of the Dad Live. Stripe stream number 4. That be 4. Oh my gosh. Lots happened just this season. So obviously, as I stated, the title, we're going to go over the Saints game. And then we are going to cover or just preview the upcoming Falcons game tomorrow. So we're gonna we're gonna start with the Saints. Breakdown of the Saints. That was a that was an up and down game, wasn't it? It was one of those games where there were times when I was like, are we gonna let somehow Andy Dalton, you know, uh, beat his old team again? Um, you know, the way that they were running the ball, which, I mean, look, DJ Reader being out has been, at least I've noticed it, but this is the first game where it was blatant. Um, and then there was just times when it seemed like, strangely, the tackling was just not there. Um, it was very, very strange and very out of character. I mean, the Bengals are defense is usually a pretty sure tackling type of team. And this was just one of those games where it was just very off and you could tell. Um, Now, they, over the game, as they typically do, they started to tighten up and tighten up and tighten up and, fix this, tweak that, adjust, which is always really good to see. And, the streak continues for the Bengals defense, holding the Saints to no touchdowns. And opposing teams, I should say, to no touchdowns. And that's phenomenal. And some people could say there's an asterisk on that because of, oh, look who they're playing. They're playing this backup, whatever. Holding any NFL team to no touchdowns in the second half is hard because, well, what do most teams try to do? They make adjustments. And somehow the Bengals D keeps turning it up. So, hold on here. Let's do this right. What we got tonight? Country Boy Brewing Company, Shotgun Wedding Brown Ale aged on vanilla beans from right here in my local, well, pretty close to local here, Georgetown, Kentucky. Not quite local, but it's short trip. But yeah, there you go. There's a free promo. Maybe Country Boy Brewing will reach out to me and say, hey, we'll throw a few dollars in the tip jar for you or something. I don't know. Probably not, let's be honest. Nothing against them, but they probably don't even know this channel exists. All right, let's see what this pour looks like here. It's funny how some beers you can pour hard, like straight down the middle, and some you really got to pour off the side because I mean, look at that. That's not bad. That's a better head on that one than the Yingling Hershey Porter. Yeah, definitely. I have to let that one settle for just a minute. So let's see here. Do a little quick little update. Things are moving along. Got some more material so that I can finish my actual background behind me. Gonna put some shelves up, put some kind of some stuff I have. You know, I've got some uh, Funko Pops. I've got a really cool storage case that's been painted. You know, some memorabilia, I guess. Nothing amazing, nothing crazy. I've never been a memorabilia collector, so that's nice. I've got basically the shelving I need for that. And then I've still got to work on a sign. I've got an idea for that. I got to do a little more research, make sure that's going to actually come out the way I'm hoping for. But either way, progress. So that's good. Subscriber count is up to over 800. Blown away. Absolutely blown away. Um, I'm just going to keep saying how much I appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that little bell thing, so you get actually get notifications. YouTube is one of those weird things where you could have 45 subscriptions and all set to, you know, max notification, and you still won't get notified about half the stuff that goes on or the new videos. So, but it does help some when you hit the notification bell. And please feel free to leave a comment if you hear me get something wrong. I am not perfect. I don't research everything thoroughly. This is not my day job. I do my best. I try to be as honest with what I know as I can be. I try not to speak to too much that I don't know. But sometimes I'm going to get something wrong, or I'll get a name wrong, or you know, some kind of factoid off. Definitely, you know, let me know, whether it's in the live streams or after the fact. After the live stream's over, feel free to, you know, reach out direct, leave a comment on the video. You can reach out direct through the Facebook page, you know, through Messenger, stuff like that. My Facebook page is hooked up for that. You can also just email wheretheDadPodcast@gmail.com. All that's fine, and love to hear from you. And especially if you have ideas about the show, how it can get better, how I can expand, or something I should look into or maybe discuss. I got some fun things I'm going to do with movies, you know, like movies that, um, you know, from my childhood, or maybe ones that really stuck out to me, um, either more recently or as I was younger. Um, but yeah, I'm blown away. Like I said, I'm just uh really enjoying this, and I'm glad that apparently at least a fair number of people are enjoying it as well. So, what's there? All right. Who-Dey, cheers. Yep, that's good. That's good stuff. All right. So, we have you know, the Saints game was, like I said, it was a bit of an up and down, back and forth a little bit. And it it was pretty obvious that their plan was, we're going to run it down their throats uh, as much as possible, because partially because, one, it just happened to be one of the Bengals defense's weakness. So that just kind of worked out in their favor. Also, they had to run it out of necessity. Virtually their entire starting wide receiving core was down for the count that game. And, you know, and it's very frustrating when you see, backup, practice squad wide receivers tearing the Bengals up. But if you really watch it, I can't remember what Andy's passing. I can't remember how many passes he had thrown by the first half, or the end of the first half, but it was very few. And it was really obvious that they weren't going to put Andy on an island out there and expose him. And they weren't going to put these receivers out there, but they were going to run it, and then take advantage of a pass that, of course, the defense might not see coming, which they did well. I mean, look, I'll give them credit for all the limitations that they had going into the game. They actually had a pretty good game plan that at least kept them in the game most of the game. Um, and me personally, this is nothing against Andy Dalton specifically. He's a super, super good dude. At least all the years he was here in Cincinnati. I've seen some weird tweets of his that kind of are oddly um, cocky, egotistical, whatever you want to call it. I think I mentioned it before, but there was one when he like got to Dallas and he was like, it was like a Instagram post, and it was like him looking off into the like from the coming out of the tunnel into the state off into the stadium, and it's like, Dallas, your king is here, or something like that. It's like, dude, you're the backup. That's weird. I know Dak hadn't been signed, but I don't think anybody thought that Dak wasn't gonna just eventually sign him. He was still gonna be the man regardless. Whether he should be or not is irrelevant. Uh, I think everybody knew that Andy wasn't going to be the man, is my point. So, but all that, aside, it has been frustrating as a Bengals fan to watch Andy with teams that shouldn't be beating us. The first year, Dallas, look, we were really, oh, we were pretty bad that year. It was 2020, right? 2022, 21, 20. Oh, it was 2019. Yeah. Yeah, it's 2019. This is Zach's fourth year. Yeah. It was pre Joe Burrow. Yeah, so yeah, it was 2019. That was an extremely bad team. 2020, of course, Burrow was out with the knee injury by then. And so it was kind of like, I don't want to say it was a fluke, but it was like, well, we weren't, Brandon Allen wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire, which is a backup. Backups aren't supposed to light the world on fire. And but last year was probably very frustrating for me watching the Bears beat us when, you know we were better than the Bears. I know we hadn't quite found our footing quite yet. We hadn't really locked it in, but it's frustrating to watch your former quarterback go somewhere and beat you, and then go somewhere else the next year and beat you, and then go somewhere else the next year and beat you again. So I'm glad that this year, not a problem. Um, trying to think about that. I feel like I'm missing a year in there somewhere. Well, we didn't play Dallas. I'm sorry, we didn't play Dallas 2019. That was 2020. So sorry, my bad. Um, anyway, so it is frustrating to watch Andy Dalton, or any former quarterback of yours have success. So there was a little bit of, extra happiness when we beat the Saints, or when the Bengals beat the Saints. I wasn't on the team, obviously. They didn't call me up from the practice squad. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm who they're looking for. I'm the missing piece. Sure. Anyway, um, but I continue to be impressed by the defense and how they continue to ratchet up the pressure slowly over the game, and it's almost like they're just squeezing in on the opposing offense as the game progresses. Um, so now the offensive side of the ball, you know, they run, they go out of their. I guess there was a few national pundits who obviously know more about football than people who actually coach or play it, as is typical, and they were talking about the answer is you gotta you gotta get Joe Burrow under center. You just gotta get him under center and just make him get used to it, and that's the only way you're going to be able to do blah 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 this that and the other. Well, the Bengals heard all that, I guess, or 100% totally ignored it, and yeah, they just ran the shotgun all but two plays, and one was a quarterback sneak, and one was the victory formation. So, yeah, um, these Bengals under Taylor and Burrow and Callahan, as far as coming up with the offensive plan and approach and strategy. While they do sometimes frustratingly still start off a little slow, they decided we're going to do what apparently Burrow's very comfortable with, and Burrow's extremely comfortable out of the shotgun. He's not as comfortable under center. And they did what worked, apparently. It is very obvious. Burrow was absolutely surgical at times. I mean, really, just killed it. I mean, he just absolutely went out there and just sliced and diced. Um, and I love seeing him get a little more patient because I know he looks for the deep ball. I know he wants the deep ball, and of course, hell, me as a fan, shit, I want the deep ball. Yeah, I absolutely want to see those big deep shots go, home run hitters, straight to the house. But I love that he took a little page out of the, whether you like it or not, the Tom Brady book, which is, okay, you want to give me 11 yards all day? Fine. I'll just kill you slowly. It's fine. I can do that. And then when they did run it, and of course, some people are like, why aren't they running it more? Well, most of the game, they're kind of playing from behind a little bit. Whether it's because of, was it Trent Taylor? Somehow just inexplicably lost control of that ball. I mean, there wasn't even contact. Um, so somehow that came out, and so of course they got the ball right back, turned it into points. If I remember correctly, I believe they turned that right into points. If I remember, I think they turned that into a touchdown. So it was really, uh, the lack of focus on the run, so to speak, as far as the split between pass and run. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were digging themselves out of holes. Which, thank God, I mean, look, this team is really good at doing that because they kind of get behind the eight ball a fair amount. Um, but they didn't go away from the run as far as they didn't forget it. They still used it, and when they used it, I mean, it looks like they have made some adjustments. They're starting to get better with that run gun. And look, I always remember. Yeah, this is a bit old, but you couldn't run it out of the shotgun because there was no lead blocker, blah blah blah. Well, they finally just went to it, and it looks like Frank Pollock, even though he prefers a different type of run scheme, they went with the run gun scheme, and it worked really really well. Joe Mixon was very effective, so was P. Ryan when he was in, um, and then it allowed Burrow when he wanted to, he could slice and dice, and I mean, I was just really, really, really happy with that. No, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect offensive performance, but it was overall really, really, really good. And then I think you could see where the Bengals, I'm assuming they were aware, they understood what the game plan was against them, what the Saints were planning on doing, which was basically run it, run it, run it, run it, run it, and then throw a little pass or a little shovel, or not a shovel, but um, a little bit of RPO as necessary, do some sweeps, things like that. And well, once they couldn't do that anymore, and then once the Bengals got up on them, that was huge. Well, all of a sudden now Andy has to pass it. And he has to pass it because he absolutely needs a touchdown. Field goal won't get it done. And that's when their lack of depth or lack of skill at the wide receiver at their wide the wide receivers they had playing really showed, and the defense was able to just get all over it, and that was huge. um I I just those I still don't understand. So I'm going to get into a couple gripes, a little oddball gripes. I mean, it's hard to gripe too hard about a game where we won, but obviously things weren't perfect. You had Trey Hendrickson, and I hate to say it, but it's a little bit of a 50-50 on this one for me. On one hand, that roughing the passer call was absolute bullshit. That was bullshit. That was so ticky-tack. He basically two-hand touched Dalton to the ground, more or less. That was like the softest to the ground Dalton has probably been in years when he's been hit. And they call offensive, or they call roughing the passer on him. I'm sorry, I don't know if I was saying off pass interference. No, roughing the passer, sorry. But that was absolutely ridiculous. But then on the other hand, there's part of me that's like, like, Trey, it's third down. Don't do anything you don't got to do. If the ball's out of his hand, just leave it alone. You ain't got to touch him. And that was a little bit of a killer because that allowed them to get some, if I remember correctly, I believe that allowed them to get some more points. I think it was a touchdown, if I remember correctly. And believe it or not, I took notes on this game. Don't know where they went. So I'm going to fix that for next stream. Always trying to get better every stream I do. So, and that could have been a game changer in a bad way. Going back to that show I remember used to be called Turning Points. That could have been a turning point type of play. Thankfully, it didn't become one. What was a turning point kind of play was that big home run shot was there. Burrow saw Chase one-on-one, and he took it. He went straight to him, didn't even think twice about it, went straight to Chase, and Chase was able to do what he does, which is juke people right out of their damn cleats and make them look stupid. He made Tyrann Mathieu look really, really slow and off pace. Admittedly, he's near the the backside of his career, but still a guy you got to account for. And took it straight to the house, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Yeah, that was really nice. Of course, me and my buddy are jumping up around like a couple of dumbasses, jumping all over the place. My dog's probably wondering what the hell's wrong with us. That is a good beer. That's a damn good beer. If you can get, I don't know if you're in the general Cincinnati, Kentucky, Indiana, I don't know about Indiana, I don't know. But this general Midwest area, if you can get your hand on some Country Boy Brewing Shotgun Wedding, if you like darker beers, it's pretty good. Not bad. So the only thing I will say that I'll point out, which was a little bit of a head scratcher. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand why having 2 more points is nice. I get that. So the touchdown put us up by 4. But the thing I was having trouble figuring out is what major benefit does 2 points get us? And it was one of those things where I was trying to bounce it around to kind of like take a look at it from, both angles. Like if we kick the extra point, it's kind of worthless because it's 5, so that doesn't really help. So even though it didn't make a lot of sense, I still do understand the point of it or the why. It does make, some level of sense. It's just not like, it's just one of those weird ones where it took me and my buddy a little while in the heat of the moment to figure it out. Like, okay, so if they go up by 6, I guess we're saying that, hey, if they catch a touchdown or if they get a touchdown, I guess we can hopefully block the extra point. I mean, look, extra points aren't as automatic as they used to be. I mean, they used to be like right up almost on the goal line. Now they're at least 30, 35 yards out. But it's still a high percentage thing, And I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have a heck of a package in store for a potential you know extra point block. Um, I still got it. No reason not to, because kicking the extra point really does absolutely nothing. But getting the two doesn't do much more. But it was understandable. Like, we're up by 4, so we can get a slight advantage by getting up by 6. It's just one of those weird ones. I mean, there's no real. I don't know if there's a hardcore wrong answer. It was just odd in the moment. Eventually, kind of sorted it out as like, well, I guess it's the slimmest of benefits, but there's a benefit here going for 2, potentially going up by 6, versus just being up instead of 4, being up 5, which does nothing in NFL point scoring strategy. So, okay, a little odd in the moment. Um, and but then that forces Andy to throw. It forces the Saints to go into a pass offense, and the defense did what they needed to do. Sacked Andy a few more times. I'm all right with that. It didn't hurt my feelings. And yeah, put the Saints away. Great job. There's things, we can nitpick this, nitpick that. Joe stayed clean most of the game. The offensive line looks like it's getting better overall. Not perfect. They still have some issues, but Lael Collins was pretty on point overall. I'm not going to sit here and say I watched the O-line all day long. I definitely did not. And there was a couple sacks. Of course, usually at moments we'd very much prefer them not happen. But Joe continues to stay fairly clean. The offense is giving him a pretty good amount of time. We're not talking about, a historically great O-line, but we're talking about they're getting better, and I think they're getting better than the O-line was last year, which is really reassuring, because if the O-line can be better than it was last year, that bodes well, all things considered. Hopefully it continues. So, but it was really good seeing Jamar wake up in the second half. First half looked a little like a lot of the games this year where Jamar can't quite get free. He can't quite get open. The defense is absolutely selling out to keep him off the stat sheet. And then they finally, whatever they did, it started a little slow in the beginning, but then they started breaking it open for him more, moving him around more. I love it. I think, if I remember correctly, I think the first offensive pass went straight to him, out of what was like a trip formation or something like that, to get him some motion, something like that. Kind of a little thing where you just throw a quick pass right to him and then let him try to make it happen after that. So it was really, really good, though, to see that happen. Tyler Boyd continues to be almost foundational. I mean, he's so sure-handed. I mean, I know it hasn't been perfect this year, but I mean, he's a sure-handed guy. And if you want to give up that over-the-middle stuff, okay. Boyd, Hurst, Mixon, they got you. They're gonna do that for you. They'll be all good all day with that. And then they're moving Chase around a little bit and letting him come across the middle, and that's going well. So overall, really happy with the game ending the way it did. And I did say that I thought that the Bengals would get, I think I said over 30, though. Maybe I said break 30. I don't know. But they got really close. Now, I said I had a feeling they might, get more than a touchdown. They didn't quite do that. But can't hate on the fact that they scored 30 finally for the first time this season. And so hopefully let's, we'll shift the conversation going forward to the Falcons. What what do I think of this? Um, so the Falcons have been a kind of an interesting team this year. I think a lot of people figured that they were in kind of a bit of a rebuild mode. They signed Marcus Mariotta, who's been a backup for I don't know how many years now. Well, at least ever since he left Tennessee. And I don't know. They think, and it's obviously not looking that way. Now, I don't think the Falcons are an amazing team, but I do think they're a tough team, much like the Saints. I don't know that they're going to the playoffs, but they're not a pushover team. They're not. You're not gonna. You can't overlook them. I guess maybe let's say it that way. So, um, Mariotta's actually been overall pretty decent. I mean, he's let's see here if I got any stats on him. Good lord. Um, yeah, let's see here. Oh, okay, there we go. 6 TDs, 4 touchdowns, 87.7. I mean, that's not exactly gonna, light anybody's world on fire, but he's been solid for them. Nothing amazing. He's been more or less his, you know, typical self. Um, yeah, I mean, none of his yardage totals are amazing. His averages are, what, maybe 8, 9 yards a carry if you go over the 6 games. His average, per pass, I guess. Um, takes sacks though. Definitely takes sacks. He's got a fair amount. So I don't think he's going to go lose them the game, at least not hardcore, but he is it is possible to make him make mistakes. And I know there was a talk about Grady Jarrett um and, I mean he's definitely someone we got to watch out for, or I should say the team has to watch out for. Um is he a DT? He's a tackle, isn't he? Yeah, he's defensive line. Um So obviously that's gonna be an interesting matchup with Grady Jarrett. They're in the middle. Probably they're gonna put him over Volson. I'm sorry. But hopefully they can scheme for that and be prepared for that. Because a lot of typically what are they gonna do? They're gonna if you have a rookie on the line, well, defensive line's gonna go after that and try to press that as much as they can. Um, but there's nothing about the Falcons that jumps off the paper. Nothing I can see anyway. They do like to run, and I suspect they will. So I I fully suspect that they're going to find out, especially because, and shit, losing Logan Wilson didn't help. So thankfully his injury is not extreme. It's not season ending, but he's probably going to be out for at least 2 weeks. Maybe I think they said what 2 to 5 is what the expectation is, somewhere between 2 and 5 weeks. I know Joe Bocci has been called up, and so has Tyler Shelvin. And, Tyler Shelvin's been a little bit of a disappointment. We're talking about, kind of thinking more like the run D right now. But I'm hoping that maybe, I don't know if he's ever going to be good. I think it's pretty obvious he's probably not going to be great. But can he be good enough while Reader's out? I can't remember who. I think Tupo's out. Let's see here. I think they released the inactives. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Well, well, they haven't fully rolled him out, but if I remember correctly, um, Reader's out, Wilson's out, which that's not a shocker. But I believe Tupo might be out too. So um, hopefully, Tufele can play and continue his progress, and hopefully Shelvin can, um, be what at least a little bit of what we hoped he would be, and just eat up space in the middle and clog up them run lanes. So that would be nice. Offense, though, going into this game, I suspect that they will. I suspect that they will continue to thrive. They look like they're progressing every single week, more or less. Maybe not in a perfect upward trend, but they are generally progressing. And I suspect that they may continue to do that. So I'm very hopeful that that's what it'll be. That's how it'll go. Um, I, I think the offenses still make hay because apparently they're. I'm trying to think. I don't know if they're. I don't know if the Falcons' run defense is very good. I got the impression that their run D is not very good. So, well, yeah. Um, I suspect that the Bengals will continue to run it effectively with Joe and Samaje, and then use that to if they're going to run a too high shell, they're just going to continue to you know tear up the middle. But I do think that we're going to start to see some of that more opportunistic offense that we got last year. It looks like they've rediscovered a little bit of that in the Saints game with that shot to Jamar and basically force the defense to change their setup. I would like to see the Bengals run some more no huddle. That would be great. I love it when they do it because it's like once they get, some up tempo, I guess I should say, or no huddle or whatever, however you want to call it. But once you see a defensive formation that works for you, just continue to just beat them and beat them and beat them and beat them right into the ground. I think Joe Mixon will have a decent day. I wonder if this will be more of a Jamar day or a T. Higgins day. I'm not sure which. But it looks good with everybody seems to be overall fairly healthy. The here's the wild card though, at least as I see it, is Hurst. He's a little bit of a wild card because this is a team that initially traded for him, brought him in, and said, "Hey, you're the dude." And for the first year he was there, he was the dude. He was like 600 some odd yards. I think it was like 6 or 7 touchdowns, something like that. I mean, we're not talking about like world-beating numbers, But then they go and draft Kyle Pitts. And so it very much looks like he's not the dude now. And then they release him, or they don't retain his contract, should I say? That they don't try to re-sign him or anything like that. So he was a free agent. So we got him. I have a feeling he's going to be pretty jacked up to rub Atlanta's nose in a little bit. And so that's where I wonder how much, how much production is going to come from his specific direction. I'm hoping a bunch. I would love to see him just tear it up against them, and because he's a heck of a route runner, very athletic. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know. Maybe Tyler Eifert was the last time I saw a tight end that could run and catch quite like that. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. Don't get it twisted. But he's a very good tight end, especially for what we need. You know, he's a good compliment. He's a guy that can get forgotten about because you have to spend so much time worrying about Jamar and T, and then oh shit, we got Tyler Boyd, and we got to worry about Joe Mixon coming out of the backfield, and he can get lost in the shuffle a little bit. I don't know if they're gonna forget him, but I am interested to see how much he does, because I think he could be a big factor in the offensive production, and I'm hoping so. Like I said, I'm hoping he absolutely just goes off. I'd love to see him get, I don't know, 100 some odd yards and 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns or some shit like that. That'd be great. But so my predictions, that's tough. Atlanta's a hard team to kind of figure out. They're not terrible, they're not great, and they're a team that just could get absolutely curb stomped, but then also could beat a decent team. Um, they strike me as the definition of a 500 type team, even though we can't have 500 teams anymore because of the odd number of games. 8-9, 9-8. I think the Bengals will win this one. I don't know what's the line. It'll be interesting to see that. Whoa. Really? Bengals are favored by 6.5. Okay. Well, then I feel very good about what I thought. Okay. I don't pay much attention to betting lines, but I do find them to be a little informative. Um, so they're damn near giving Bengals a touchdown. Maybe this is an offensive explosion kind of day. Maybe. Um, I think the Bengals will score. I'm gonna. I'm gonna call it 35. 35-24. I feel good about that. Who knows how wrong I might be, but that's how I feel. So that's how I'm going. This is why you also should not watch me and bet based on what I say. I'm not a bettor. Yeah, let's go with that. 35-24. Bengals offense continues to progress, continues to score points at a higher rate. I do think Logan Wilson not being in the lineup could be notable, which means the defense may struggle to lock them down a little bit. But I do know we have linebackers. We do have linebackers behind Wilson, but they're not Wilson, and that's why he's starting. So, Joe Bocci, it's great that we have him and he's back. He's healthy, ready to roll. But it's probably going to be mostly, I'm assuming, Pratt and Davis Gaither, probably. So it'll be interesting what they do to kind of mask or compensate for Wilson not being out there. But I think the Bengals can do well tomorrow, and looking forward to it. I've got some got my buddy Dave and his fiance coming over, and my brother-in-law and his wife coming over. We're gonna have my mother-in-law's here. I've got some chili on smoked beef rib chili. Something I stumbled onto a little bit. I have a base recipe for chili that I like to use, but then I like to play with it and try different kinds of different meats. You know, different steps. My chili's a pretty traditional chili. You know, tomatoes, kidney beans, celery, onions. Um, you know, that kind of setup. You know, that tomato saucy type of chili. And but sometimes I'll mess around with it and do a little black bean corn. You know, and I decided one time to try this. No food for you, Kim. You're not getting any food. Kim says, "Can't wait to try that food." Um, but yeah, so I got a pellet grill during the summer of COVID, and decided I had some beef ribs, like actual rack of beef ribs, and I was really kind of bored with my chili, wanted to try something different, and so I thought about like, well, I like cooking with bone in, you know, throw in a few, you know, that you can get a pack of, you know, cut beef bones, and I would throw them in my chili, and it really made a big difference cooking with those bones in. Of course, you take them out before you serve, and I thought about it. I was like, well, I got a pack of beef ribs. It's like two racks of beef ribs, and I was like, well, I'm gonna try to smoke those. And I had some stew beef, so I smoked that with it, and then threw that in the chili. You know, smoked it for about 2 hours, just on a low setting for just to get the smoke flavor in, not trying to cook it hardcore. And throw that in, let that simmer in there for about 3 hours with all the the vegetables and the seasonings and everything else. And it changed my chili. Of course, made my chili a lot more expensive than it used to be. My chili used to be a pretty pretty budget friendly type of meal. Now it's a bit more expensive now. Um, but it's phenomenal. You just let that cook in there and get all that goodness out of the bones and everything, and then of course take the bones out. You know, you, and I take the bones out, and most of the time the meat's already fallen off the bone if it's not already off of it. You know, and just chop that all that meat up so that you don't have any massive chunks of beef in there, and then you serve. You know, you want cheese in it? Fine. You want crackers? Fine. Do that. I tend to go straight first bowl, but hey, oh, Kim's bringing something too. So, yeah, yeah. Tell Ronald I'm glad he liked it. I'm glad he liked it. So, um, so looking forward to that, and looking forward to enjoying a heck of a game. I hope you all are too. And we'll wrap things up. I know I already said this earlier, but please hit that subscribe button. And then there's that little notification bell next to it. Let you know that like you can adjust, and you can adjust it so that you make sure you get your notifications when I'm going live. I'm trying to do a better job of scheduling these streams ahead of time, whether they be the Bengals ones or if I'm getting into movies or maybe a topical thing. I do eventually want to get to the point where I can start recording some just straight videos that I just premiere. But right now, the live streaming is working for me. It also works for my availability. And then, of course, I can go back and I can split things up and, you know, dice up the live streams a little bit for the regular videos section. But right now, I'm enjoying the heck out of this. I have a great time. It's fun. And if you got comments, please by all means throw a comment out there. Say something. Let me know what you think. Ask questions. I love it. And if I can answer, I will. And if I don't know, well, I don't know. I got Google here with me, so I might try to find the answer for you. But yeah, no, this has been great. And like I said, I'm absolutely blown away with how the channel's growing right now. I'm phenomenally grateful. And like I said, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, I'd very much appreciate it if you do. It helps me do this and it helps me be able to devote more time to this. I'd like to be able to devote more time. I'm doing the best I can with the limited amount of time I can put into this, and so I'm trying to make that, the most bang for the buck right now. But if this continues to grow, I may be able to devote more time and put more effort into it. And right now, I'm working on the background. Love the green screen. It has served its purpose, and doesn't mean I'll never do it ever again. But I am getting closer to getting this. Like I said, I got some material for shelving, and then I got to work on a sign. I've got an idea for a lighted sign box that I've seen some stuff out there on YouTube, and it's something I was going to go for, and so I got to work on that. But baby steps, getting closer. So, uh, signing off. Who-Dey. And until next time, take care and have a great day.